Do this look like work to you? Nah.
This is the Double A Balls Podcast with your hosts.
See, now we're spitting hot fire,
Woo! Andrew Romanella.
I like that. That's what I'm talking about. I'll be the best cheerleader. Father Time apparently doesn't know Tom Brady's address.
And Anthony Rinaldi.
Love the hardwood. That's my passion. Houston, they don't have a problem. Listen, you don't even have to listen.
Now it's time for the show.
Pussy at the hall and we all of this for free. We ball hogging like we ballin' for the heat. I did it.
Yes, indeed. This is the Double A Balls Podcast, episode 16, coming at you. I am your host, Andrew Romanella, and alongside me is my partner, Anthony Rinaldi.
Andrew, how are you? Probably not bombing a beer out of a catfish, huh?
Definitely not. Go Titans, go. Great episode here for you on the Double A Balls Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Social media.
At Double A Balls on both. Visit the website, DAABpodcast.com. Get your apparel, powerarmperformance.com. And, of course, subscribe. Apple Podcast, iTunes, and Podbean. NHL, NBA, NFL. What do you got? What does Anthony know about sports? It's a jam-packed show, and we're going to the ice. Off the bat, Mr. Rinaldi.
That's the hard ice wood.
The hard ice we are going to, and we got a lot of great series in the NHL right now. Anthony Rinaldi, every series but one tied up 1-1 right now. Currently, while we broadcast, the Lightning and Bruins are in the third period. I want to start with the Capitals and the Penguins because I think, personally, that's the most intriguing series we have in the NHL right now. Obviously tied up 1-1. In Game 1 of this series, you saw the Washington Capitals give up their fourth lead in 7 playoff games that they had played, and you saw the Penguins score what I believe was 3 goals in the matter of about 5 minutes and take the game in Game 1 of that series, Anthony. And then you saw the Capitals bounce back, though, and that's a series tied 1-1. Very intriguing, Crosby versus Ovechkin.
You gotta like what Washington did, at least in Game 2 there. I know losing Game 1 that way. Was it another 2-goal lead they lost? Or just only?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
At that time, they had lost 4 games. 4 games in 7 they had played in the playoffs where they had a 2-goal lead and they blew it.
But you saw, I mean, listen, Ovi took it to him, right? When he scored in the first 10 seconds of the game?
Yeah, the Penguins gave up a goal 17 seconds into the first period and 28 seconds into the third period, and that was the goal to Ovechkin. So it was 2-0, and Ovechkin scored quick in the third, and you thought, wow, is Washington going to come out here and take a quick 1-0 lead in this series, playing a great game number 1, and then you saw what the Penguins could do, and it was 4 minutes and 49 seconds. They scored 3 goals in the third period to win that game, and of course it all starts with Sidney Crosby.
Sid the Kid. Although, I guess you really can't call him a kid anymore, right?
No.
How old is that kid now? 32?
Yeah, and he's just getting better. Like
Even that's young, though. That's young.
He's the LeBron of the NHL. So that series, Game 3 Tuesday night and Game 4 Thursday night, both of those games in Pittsburgh. So that series shifts that way. That's a good goalie matchup as well between Murray and Holtby. So look for that series. That's going to be a fun one. I think that one might go the distance. If not, it's at least a 6-game series. Moving forward with the Golden Knights and the Sharks. This is a very intriguing series, and you got me fired up today because of something that happened in overtime of this series. But Game 1 win, the Golden Knights scored 7 goals, 7 different scores in that game. The San Jose Sharks, however, came back with a 2 overtime 4-3 victory with a little controversy.
Yeah, I don't think that should even happen there. I showed you this video. It's all over the interwebs. I'm sure you can find it if you haven't seen it live.
It was not goalie interference.
Yeah, the goalie interference call that negated eventually would have been the game-winning goal in overtime. But, like I said, it was apparently disallowed for goalie interference. We move on, and the Sharks win in second overtime, which, is probably a pretty important victory, Andrew, because you don't want to go down 0-2 to this upstart Vegas expansion juggernaut.
And it was a huge win for the Sharks. And what just bothers me so much when officials have an effect in the outcome of a game, especially a big game, a really big game. And that was the first loss the Golden Knights suffered this playoffs.
Well, let me ask you, since you are our hockey guru on the show, are the refs in hockey? Are the hockey refs get blamed like the NFL refs or the NBA refs for too much? Nobody wants to see the zebras on skates? I
think out of the 4 major sports, the NHL referees might be the best ones.
Well, let me ask you, because I feel like Pittsburgh may have a gripe with you in that...
That was a goal.
That was a goal? I'm sorry. And, well, no, how about that nasty hit? I know we didn't really discuss it with that Pence cap, but I think his name's Tom Wilson. Kind of a dirty player, I hear, from your boy Humpty today, all over the airways, claiming that he should have been suspended and whatnot.
See, what surprised me about there not being a suspension was I felt like with the way the NHL has been coming down on hits of that nature, I feel like it at least warrants a 1-game suspension because that seems to be the consistency, one throughout this entire season, but this playoffs because we've already seen some suspensions this playoffs.
All right. You know what? Listen, I'm going to go with you. You're the hockey guy. You just look like the dude kind of almost like targeting in football. He found his target. He hit him low, or in the head, I should say. Or more like in the shoulder, but it was like head continued. I don't know. It looked pretty dirty to me, dude.
I'm just proud you are watching and having knowledge of what is going on in the NHL. The Predators and the Jets also tied up 1-1. They play Game 3 Tuesday night and Game 4 Thursday night as that series shifts to Winnipeg. A lot going on in this series. Connor Hellebuyck, 47 saves in the 4-1 game win for the Winnipeg Jets. However, the Predators in overtime, that was another 2-overtime game, a 5-4 winner, Kevin Fiala for the Nashville Predators. So that series is tied up 1-1.
That was a smooth goal, man. I even saw that one myself.
Oh, man. It was just beautiful. When you see the goaltender, when you see the full net after you make the move, you know you've done everything you needed to do. And that's exactly what Fiala did. So the Predators bounce back. Big win. That series shifts to Winnipeg. If you're the Winnipeg Jets, you obviously, it's a no-brainer. You say you want to win both at home. But no matter what, at the end of the day, if you're Winnipeg, you need to split it because you know Nashville's that good of a team that you just need to find a way. If it's me, Game 3 is the biggest game for Winnipeg because if you win Game 3, you can't afford to ever lose a game in the playoffs, but you might be able to afford to lose game number 4.
Andrew, let me drop a little nugget on you. I really dug deep in the NHL vault today, studying my notes to give it to you because I'm really excited for the NHL playoffs.
Give it to me.
This game, or this series won't get the best ratings. That'll probably be the Pens and the Caps, right?
I would agree.
This won't be the most compelling personnel rivalries, right? That's probably still Pens Caps.
However, these are the 2 top teams in the regular season.
It's not an expansion team trying to make history, right? But I hear if you love hockey, this is probably going to be the best series because, like you just said, these are the 2 leading point scorers. And let me ask you this: in Game 1, Nashville controlled almost 70% of the shot attempts and the scoring attempts. But like you said, your Vezina Trophy nominee. Look at that, name-dropping trophies.
Yes, sir.
Hellebuyck stood on his head in Game 1.
And at the end of the day, you need a fantastic goaltender to make a run, and they have that.
And so does Nashville by doing Pecorine. That's a great name.
That's a name.
That is a name.
That is a name right there. And the last series, as we mentioned before, the Lightning and the Bruins currently playing as we broadcast. By the end of this podcast, we will have a final. And that is a very good series. Listen, game number 3 for that series, Anthony, is on Wednesday, and game number 4 is on Friday. That series is going back to Boston, and Tampa Bay is a very quick team, a very deep team, and we can see how good they are offensively. Their power play is phenomenal. We saw it against the New Jersey Devils. It felt like they scored every single time they had a power play option. But to me, Tuukka Rask, Patrice Bergeron, Rick Nash, and the Boston Bruins are just a force. And I see them winning this series, but I think this could go 7.
Oh, easily. I think this is probably, again, not being much of a hockey guy, but, what a compelling series. Boston, I would say steamrolled through the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it went to Game 7. Obviously, Game 7s are always what you want to see. And they continue that in Game 1, dropping a 6-pack on the Lightning. So I thought, all right, here you go. Boston's just going to steamroll. But, like you said, Tampa Bay's deep. and they have a pretty good goaltender themselves. Because they weren't they first in the division last year? No, this year.
Yes, and this year they were number one in the division. You are correct. And no matter what, at the end of the day, you're going back to Boston for 2 for Game 3 and Game 4, and you had home ice advantage and you lost it by losing Game number 1. So at the end of the day, no matter what, you have to go in and win one of the 2 games in Boston to shift that back in your favor a little bit. And you know what, Anthony? Because we're talking about the NHL and we're on the ice, we're going to remind you that if you're on thin ice with your kitchen, your bath, your deck, you want some remodeling, some interior trim, some redesign, if you need anything, we have that for you with Frankie Franchise Construction. You can call him at 973-789-6236 or email him at frank.franchiseconstruction@gmail.com. Remodel and relove your home with Franchise Construction. That is your Frank Franchise NHL update coming at you on the Double A Balls podcast Twitter, the gram at Double A Balls on both. Slide in the DMs, find us, let us know how you feel. Send us an email, doubleaballs@gmail.com. Rolling through Anthony Rinaldi. I know I threw you for a loop because we started with hockey. So now we will dribble our way over to your beloved hardwood, the NBA playoffs. LeBron James, what is going on?
Oh, you mean LeBron James, Mr. 13-0 in the first rounds? Mr. LeBron James?
That's the one thing he has
With no help.
over Michael Jordan.
You're right.
He has no help.
I mean,
Zero.
listen, this team, for being handpicked by Mr. LeBron, I don't got no. I got my bananas riding on LeBron, so I'm going to roll with him. But I mean, he did this to himself, right? I mean, he picked these guys. I think there's a crazy stat out there that there isn't one single player that scored over 20 points in the series. It was LeBron, and LeBron.
That's what's crazy, is he's literally carrying their team. His numbers from the other night's Game 7, 105-101 win over the Indiana Pacers. 16 of 25 from the field. He played 43 minutes, was 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. He scored 45 points, had 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. Oh, 4 steals as well. Legitimately the man for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
See? He's a man.
But I still take the field.
He's a man, Andrew.
Because I don't think they're...
He's not a machine. You saw him bleed. Just like in Rocky, baby.
And
you
that's
saw
my
him
problem.
bleed. You saw Drago bleed.
So now they go in and they play the Toronto Raptors in game number 2, who are a very good team. We're seeing for the first time some type of confidence, I say, slightly in the Toronto Raptors in the playoffs. Now this is where they prove it to me. This is not that good of a Cleveland Cavaliers team. Listen, LeBron looked tired. He's played every game this year. He's the only way they win a basketball game. And they have to flip it on right away after winning a tough Game 7 against the Indiana Pacers. I don't think he, can sustain that against the Toronto Raptors, who are a significantly better team, because you got to think about the matchups in this next series and the depth, the difference in depth between the Raptors and the Pacers. And then secondly, the turnaround time. Never in his NBA career to this point in the last about 6 to 8 years has he really had to work that hard in the first round to get out and not have a supporting cast alongside.
You're going to find out exactly what LeBron has in him in this round 2 series.
Oh, 100%.
Starts, I believe, on Tuesday. And you're going to see... I mean, you're right. This has to be Toronto's time. You basically have a wounded animal. I know you don't want to corner a wounded animal, they say, but I mean, LeBron is physically drained. I think he played 35 minutes straight in that Game 7. And
if he doesn't get the cramps, he plays every minute of that game.
Oh yeah, I think he even looked into the stands at his family. Was like,
yes,
I'm playing this game.
He said he said after the game that he had told Ty Lue going into it that he was playing every minute that he had to in that ball game. And I think that's the understanding of LeBron and Ty Lue, that's the only way we're winning this ball game. But to the credit of the bench players in Game 7, when LeBron went out with cramps, they were only up by 2. When he came back into the game in the fourth quarter, they were up by 9. So they found a way to add 7 points to that lead. So to the credit of the bench players, Tristan Thompson, whoa, hello.
Mr. Kardashian.
Welcome back to playing NBA-style basketball. George Hill, very nice job off the bench. Somebody that we haven't really seen in the series dealing with some injury. So you saw some guys come off the bench and do some things for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But, Anthony, I just don't think they're deep enough to beat Toronto in 7 games.
Man, I'm very disappointed in Larry Nance Jr.
I agree with that.
I mean, I thought this dude, I watched a few of his highlights in La La Land. Yeah, I thought he was a good player, a rim rocker, but clearly all he got is that jam. I mean, he's got no J, he's got no outside shot that's consistent. I mean, his defense is kind of lackluster at best. Clarkson off the bench is a nice little depth piece, but like you said, Toronto all season has been built on speed and bench depth.
Cleveland had 17 bench points in Game 7. 17.
It's not a lot, I don't think.
That's not winning you a championship.
No.
And I don't think that's beating the Toronto Raptors, but let me ask you this. If it does beat the Toronto Raptors, what do you do?
If you're Toronto?
Yeah.
Ship some of your players to New York.
I'd trade everybody.
I'll take DeRozan.
I would trade everybody. I would blow the whole thing up because clearly something's not working there.
Right, but, listen, LeBron is the kryptonite to Toronto. So we'll see. Because I think they're going to put the rookie on him. I'm probably going to butcher his name. I apologize.
I believe.
Anunoby. Listen, he guarded him a lot in the regular season. And when he was on LeBron was very good. Don't get me wrong. Typical LeBron numbers.
LeBron's always very good, though.
But when anybody else covered LeBron, they were basically unstoppable. So this Anunoby kid, he's a rookie.
Okay.
He'll see a lot of time on LeBron. And like I said, LeBron even said he's physically drained.
And that's the thing. Now you got a rookie who probably hasn't played as many minutes or has as much wear and tear on his body, excited to go against the best player in the world at home for the first 2 with them off of what they had to do in Game 7. I'm telling you, it's a recipe for disaster for Cleveland. And I know it benefits me, and I know it hurts you to lose the bananas, but I am staying with the field. And I believe, if I'm correct, that I had chosen Toronto and Philly in the Eastern Conference Finals when you told me to pick what I thought. And looking at the Celtics 76ers series and Jaylen Brown, grade 1 strain in the hamstring, don't really know what you're going to get out of him this series. Anthony Rinaldi, do you think the Boston Celtics have enough to beat Embiid, Simmons in the process over there in Philadelphia?
If that is the case, build a statue to Brad Stevens right now. That dude
would deserve it. He deserves it where they are right now.
He's carrying his team on his back, carrying this lineup with duct tape and glue, man. Like you said, Jaylen Brown went down. Is he playing? I believe their game's going on right now. I'm not sure if he's in or not, but they said they'll probably have limited minutes of anything. Had he not played in round 2 of the first playoffs?
Right, and it's a grade 1 strain. But the question is, because you think about it, people have believed, and I don't think there ever was a chance that Gordon Hayward was coming back, but the Celtics are very cautious about things like that. They understand the importance of early season injuries with these young guys or their franchise cornerstones. And Gordon Hayward, you heard Brad Stevens say it over and over again, he's not coming back this year. I can see the same thing with Jaylen Brown. Yeah, they might put him on the bench and say he's available, but only use him in minutes that they really need him in, because you don't want that next 10 to 15 years of his high basketball ability and ability to help your franchise compete for championships hurt because of a year that, you don't want to admit that you probably don't have enough to win the title, but realistically, you don't have enough to win the title.
How good would this team look with a Kyrie Irving
and Gordon Hayward?
But let me tell you, if Jaylen Brown does struggle to find the minutes, this is going to be all rest on Jason Tatum's shoulders.
Yes.
And these two
He's
characters,
so good, but
these two characters will be forever linked. Jason Tatum and Markelle Fultz, because they were swapped before the draft. Philly and Boston swapped the 1 and 3 pick. Obviously, Philly chose Markelle Fultz, dude who can't find a jump shot, and Jason Tatum. How good would Philly look with Jason Tatum in that lineup?
Oh, I can't imagine. And that's what was so crazy about that draft, because we always talk about that with the Knicks.
Ugh, stop talking about
But I mean, think about the draft. Like you always.
I
think
sent my
about
resume
that.
in to coach, by the way, so
I-
I apologize, Double-A ball fans, if I'm absent a few days on the podcast. It's because I'm coaching the New York Knicks.
Well, it looks like we'll be getting sideline tickets. You know who else has been big for the Celtics that I don't think is getting enough love? Al Horford.
Oh, dude, I wrote a whole paragraph about him.
Al Horford has been the man.
Al Horford.
18.1 points per game, 8.7 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists per game, and 1.4 blocks per game in the 7-game series against the Milwaukee Bucks.
He bookended that series, too. He had a solid game 1 and a solid game 7.
And he had to guard Giannis Antetokounmpo, who could arguably be one of the hardest guards in the NBA.
Oh, without a doubt. And he'll be guarding a lot of Ben Simmons and Embiid, which is going to be always a tough matchup.
But that's my question.
He's that savvy vet, Andrew.
Can he handle both? I mean, that's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna get. He had a lot of Simmons in the regular season. When these two matched up in the regular season,
Well, they played at Baines
there was
kid,
a
right?
lot of minutes. Yeah,
That big monster will cover Embiid.
Yeah.
But Embiid will dance circles around him. But you're right. I mean, Horford. Listen, in the regular season matchups against him, he guarded Simmons, I would say, 2/3 of the time, and then he guarded Embiid the other time. And he didn't shut him down, but he's a typical savvy veteran, man. He'll get him in foul trouble early. He draws him out because he can knock down a long jump shot, even hit a 3 once in a while. So that'll open the paint up a little bit for that slash of Jason Tatum. Al Horford does a lot for your team, and that was one of the most underrated pickups by what's his face? Where's my stat guy? Who's the GM for the Celtics?
Danny Ainge.
There you go. See, I told you if I just bullshit long enough,
You'll
I'll
figure
draw
it
it
out.
out of you.
But so does that answer the question? Do they have enough to beat the 76ers?
I guess
Because I don't think they
time will
do
tell,
at the end. I think at the end of the day, the way the Sixers have been playing the last month and a half, how banged up the Celtics are, and the fact that Joel Embiid arguably could be making his way to a top 5 player in the NBA,
the masked magician Joel Embiid.
and then Ben Simmons is just, wow. I just don't think the Celtics have enough depth. I'm going to say it right now. I think it's a 6 game. I think Brad Stevens is good enough, like you said before, to draw up a game plan, to find a way to steal 2 wins in that series. I think they'll win game, whatever, the first game they play in Boston, they'll win that game, okay?
I agree with you. In the previous series with the Celtics, didn't every home team win?
Yes. That happened a lot last year,
Do you
too,
think
with them.
the Boston Garden has that kind of magic?
Yes,
Gonna
100%.
And I mean, how many times did they face off the Celtics and Philly? 20 sometimes, right? Back in the day?
And I heard that the 76ers were watching film on the old school rivalry to learn about the series between the Celtics and understand the history of what they're about to embark on, as you may.
I'm gonna say something crazy. I'm gonna drop this little nugget stat on your boy Ben Simmons. I'm gonna say something crazy, which is probably gonna drive Angelo Rinaldi, owner of Hawthorne Glass, a little crazy.
What do you got?
You know your boy Ben Simmons was only 4 assists away from averaging a triple-double in the first series, opening series.
That's unbelievable. In his rookie year.
I'm gonna say this. He's 6'10". I want to say he's the modern-day Magic Johnson.
Wow.
To that, you say what?
In 15 years, will Ben Simmons have changed the game? Because that's what Magic Johnson did.
You're right.
Magic Johnson changed the game of basketball at the point guard position.
Guarded all 5 positions, didn't he?
Yes.
Took a tip-off every once in a while.
Yes.
Had that sky hook, that nasty little elbowed sky hook jump shot.
Will Ben Simmons have changed the game?
He's 6'10" with a stupid handle, sees the entire court, can't shoot though. If that dude works if he ever works on an an outside jump shot, he could be something fierce in the NBA, dude. I mean, 6'10" with that kind of ability and that kind of handle. I mean, come on.
In the Western Conference, do you think New Orleans or Utah even has a chance against Golden State or Houston? Or do you think we're watching 8 total games between the 2 series and a head-to-head matchup of Golden State versus Houston?
Man, I was so pumped for that Utah-Houston game, dude.
I'm so sad about the Thunder, but yeah.
Oh, come on.
Once the Thunder lost, right, it was okay for me to say, yo, Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz are a fun team to watch.
Write this down. or remember it. I want to have a Friday dab, one of these dabs, on your OKC and their future.
Yes.
Because your boy
I want to
Melo
talk about
is
it
such
now.
a bum.
I'm not happy about it.
Such a bum, that dude.
I'm not happy. How do you come out and say...
Stay Melo.
I'm not going to sit on the bench. Listen, I get it. The cards are in theory in his hands. He has the $28 million player opt-in for another year. He can opt into that. But if I'm OKC, Anthony, I'm coming back and I'm being like, hey, Carmelo, listen, we understand that you think that you don't deserve to sit on the bench. But if you come back to play for the Thunder next year and you opt into that $28 million, you're going to be the most expensive bench player in the NBA because you're not going to be starting on our roster.
Listen, we can't be talking about a team that's mostly playing golf right now.
I'm not. It's unbelievable that they cannot find a way to build around Russell Westbrook. We will Friday dab about that because I have so much written down. Russ took 43 shots in Game 6, Ant.
That's crazy.
43 shots, 19 from behind the arc. Are we not at a point where Russell Westbrook doesn't need to be taking 40? You have Paul George. We have Carmelo Anthony. Steven Adams is the only... Playoff P was terrible.
Listen, he did his best Allen Iverson. Remember Allen Iverson would drop like 49 points in like every game, but he was like 17 of 52.
Yes.
I mean, like
unbelievable.
Yeah. See, that's the problem.
They don't have a system. They don't run any plays. It's just Russ, get the ball and go. I was watching clips. I'm fired up, Anthony. I was watching clips of some of the pull-up jumpers that he was taking from about 20 feet away, and they're just so bad. You go set up for the pick and roll with Steven Adams, and you don't really pick and you don't really roll. It's just Steven Adams comes up, kind of throws his body into a defender, and Russell just takes a left step and shoots the ball and misses. I mean, what are we doing? No offensive systems. That is a Friday dab in the future. But Utah, I don't know, Anthony, if they have enough firepower.
No, not even close, dude.
And I was excited about New Orleans, but nor do I believe they have enough firepower either.
No, you know what? I think they're going to steal one game or two. I'll give the Pelicans two.
Did they fool us?
You know, I think Portland fooled us. I think that was a very weak 3 seed. I think they spent all their energy, like you said, I think in one of the earlier podcasts. They blew their load getting to that 3-hole. Yeah. And then had nothing left in the tank. I think that was just a bad matchup nightmare for Portland. I mean, who's going to cover Anthony Davis? Mason Plumlee? No thanks.
Well, see, that's where you're missing DeMarcus Cousins for New Orleans Pelicans because that's a matchup nightmare for Golden State because he can stretch the floor with his ability to play down low as a big and play outside as a three-point shooter. Think about what you have in Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, and who's the other defender besides Draymond Green? Yeah, you can put Kevin Durant on one of those guys, but I would believe that Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins are significantly more physical basketball players than Kevin Durant would be, and I would take either of them in that matchup if that was what had to be matched up. And I think that's what's disappointing about this series to me is it would be so much more intriguing if DeMarcus Cousins was on this roster for the Pelicans because the matchup difference on defense for Golden State would be so much different that it would actually, I feel like, give New Orleans a chance to actually possibly take this series.
Check this out. Since Boogie went down, the Pelicans rank first in the NBA in both pace and fast break points per game. So you know they want to get up and run. And that means, that running gun offense may not work against Golden State because
they want to get up and run.
If you start chucking up shots and get those long rebounds, you know they're going to be breaking down court and they're going to get easy 2-point bunnies, man.
But that's what I'm saying. You want the slowed down game against Golden State. This is the only time you want to be able to run the half-court set efficiently because if you run the half-court set and you're able to make buckets in a 15 to 20-second time span, you're not allowing them to control the pace of play. And like you said before, you're not allowing them to get those misses and get out in transition. But I agree. I think they could win 2. Maybe this could be a 6-game series, but at the end of the day, my bet is it's a 5. New Orleans takes one in New Orleans. That is my guess. Steph Curry is to return for Game 2 on Tuesday night in this series. So look for his integration back into the Golden State Warriors offense.
See, now that intrigues me. You know, as much as I want to see Steph back, knock that rust off, because he hasn't played, I think, since like March 23rd or something like that. But maybe, I think you sit him Game 2. You see how that goes. You know what? Or maybe dress him, but don't play him. And if you're maybe losing a half or something, maybe you need him. But
he doesn't need to come back, does
exactly.
he?
I think maybe you
I think
extra rest.
he can win the series without him.
Right.
I don't
agree.
think he needs to play the series.
Check out this, Steve. Once they knew Steph wasn't going to be in the playoff picture for the first round, they kind of moved their offense, shifted offense, end of the season a little bit, and made KD play the point forward. And you kind of see that now with LeBron does that a lot. Has the ball in his hand. That's why I think Kyrie wanted to leave a little bit too. I know he didn't really like playing with LeBron anymore. His shadow was too much. The pressure was too much playing with LeBron. But I think it's because the ball wasn't in his hands as much.
True.
So you see KD now playing that point forward role. Dude's averaging 28.2 points, 8.6 rebounds, 5.2 assists. Not bad.
He's just probably the second, because LeBron James is the best player in the world. Kevin Durant is the second best player in the world. I would argue that LeBron James is 1A and Kevin Durant's 1B, because it's almost like they're the same player in two different forms. Both of them can play all 5 positions on the floor. Both of them can run the offense, coach the team, and if they needed to, carry their entire team in any way, shape, or form on any given night. That is the crazy thing.
Do you remember how we talked about LeBron not having any cast of characters to help him? Golden State had 6 players in double figures in Game 1.
Klay Thompson is so good.
Dude, come to the Knicks, Klay.
Klay
Come
Thompson
to New York,
is
bro.
so good.
Get on the Dad podcast, bro. Come on, Klay.
Does Klay Thompson deserve
His
a
brother
chance?
plays for the Yankees.
Does Klay Thompson deserve a chance to be the star on a team, A, and B, is he good enough to be the star on a team?
He's lying in the weeds waiting. He wants that role. You know, with Steph Curry, then all of a sudden KD comes there. You kind of feel like he kind of got the third man, the third wheel. I mean, he's embraced it, and the dude, comes back from thumb surgery, and I think it improved his shot, if that makes sense.
This is not a fan comment. This is not a fan comment. And it's never going to happen. I don't see it happening. But does Klay Thompson, if Paul George doesn't re-sign with the Thunder, and you figure out the Melo situation, does Klay Thompson kind of make sense if you kind of run it like an offensive scheme like Houston's figured out, where Chris Paul and James Harden play majority of the time off the floor together, and then when they need to, they play minutes together? Couldn't you see Russell and Klay Thompson being a fantastic fit together in that manner?
Oh, man, it's like your Dolphin, man. You want everybody.
But truthfully, not as a fan. Basketball status only.
He fits in every system, dude. There's not one team in the NBA that wouldn't benefit from a Klay Thompson. But I think he's going to La La Land, man. He's going back home.
He wants to go back home. And honestly, I don't blame him, because I think what Los Angeles is doing is fantastic. And again, I trusted Magic Johnson.
I heard this nugget from your boy Stephen A. today. He said if Philly fails to nail LeBron, they're going to make a heavy push for playoff P. Wow. Imagine him in a Sixer uniform.
Wow.
That's pretty nice, too.
What I saw is Paul George said the exact same thing he said at the end of his last season with Indiana, almost to a T. So that pretty much tells me that next year I'll be left with Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony to probably not make the playoffs in OKC. Which I wouldn't mind if they lost an entire year. Russell didn't play a lot of basketball, kind of rested his body. They got a top 5 draft pick, and then came back. I wouldn't mind that at all.
I mean, listen, Westbrook's going to carry you to a playoff push, because that dude's got an endless motor, and there's just no quit. That dude's got so much fire. It's a shame they can't build around him. I mean, they're trying to. You had James Harden and Kevin Durant, but that seems like decades ago, doesn't it?
Oh my God! And they were in the finals in 2012, but it feels like a lifetime ago. Anthony, how you feeling over there? I know you're probably feeling better than the Thunder right now. Would you agree?
Oh, I mean, always. I'm still here.
All right,
still talking NBA playoffs.
So if I turn on the game show music, are you going to bounce back after a tough week last week? All right. It is another episode of What Does Anthony Know About Sports?
Not a whole lot.
Probably another day when he's going to complain, and another day when I'm going to enjoy him complaining.
Give me 1912 hockey questions, bro. Go ahead.
Let's start it off. In 1800 BC, Jesus Christ... No, I'm kidding. Question number 1. In 1985, Bernard King of the Who, New York Knickerbockers, won the NBA scoring title. He was the last Knick to win the NBA scoring title until what Knick in 2012-2013?
That would be Carmelo Anthony.
Correct.
That's BK's his boy, man. He grew up loving Bernard King. He developed his game around that. Almost kind of feel bad for Bernard King now the way Melo turned out.
Carmelo Anthony was the scoring champion.
I'm back on the way, Andrew. Let's go.
2012, 2013. You asked for cookies, I give you cookies.
Cookie.
Question 2. Anthony Rinaldi. One country has played in every World Cup. Can you name that country? What does Anthony know about soccer?
Oh man, my grandparents are rolling over in their grave right now. My Italian heritage.
5 seconds.
I'm gonna try to take a shot in the dark. I'm gonna go with Spain.
Brazil is the only country
Brazil.
to have played in every World Cup. 1-4-2 on what does Anthony know about sports? Okay, the final question. This might take a second, but I actually think you can get this one because I believe in your basketball knowledge. So, question 3. There are 7 players in NBA history to score 3,000 points. Okay? I'm going to give you the victory if you name at least 4 of them, which is over half. But can you name all 7?
No. 7 guys, sort of a 3,000. What?
30,000 points.
30,000 points. Let's go with Kareem.
Okay.
Jordan.
Okay.
Is LeBron up there?
Yep. He hit it this year.
He's this year. Oh, I'm moving on. Moving along. I got 3.
You got MJ, Kareem, LeBron. You're missing Kobe, Karl Malone, Wilt Chamberlain, and Dirk Nowitzki.
Wow.
So that is a 1-for-3 showing for Anthony Rinaldi today on What Does Anthony Know About Sports. Better than your 0-for-3 showing. You stepped up to the plate. I'm glad I brought a basketball question into play. I really thought you were going to know the 30,000 point one. It's a pretty unbelievable list, and I think LeBron James is going to be close to the top, if not at the top, by the time he's done because he is playing that well right now. Anthony, you know who did a very good job in the NFL draft?
Who?
The Denver Broncos.
Wow, dude. Bradley Chubb. Von Miller.
They're going to be
that's
very
the Marcus
good.
Ware light right there, man.
And we talked about it before the draft. And obviously, we'll get into it with our What Do You Got in a little bit. But we talked about it. You wanted them to draft Baker Mayfield. Okay?
Oops.
I didn't have Baker Mayfield in the top 5. We were both everyone in America was ridiculously wrong. Baker Mayfield gets drafted first overall, and we're all
that dude's got to eat horse poop now. That commentator.
Bradley Chubb goes to the Denver Broncos, and all of a sudden with Case Keenum, with the addition of a big defensive piece, a few more guys that I know you want to get into that they drafted, you take a step back, look at what John Elway did in the 2018 draft, and say, you kind of really love the Denver Broncos next season.
Oh, they will be easily a playoff powerhouse if that offense does get a little roll. Like you said, they still got Demaryius Thomas out there catching balls. Case Keenum, you're going to get a solid QB performance out of him. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to drill down, 70-yard bombs. But defensively, they got to, shore up the cornerbacks. But they're going to have a solid group of players up the middle.
They picked up a running back, a wide receiver, and a quarterback in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round. I think everything is really a crapshoot in the NFL draft. I don't know if you would agree or disagree with that, but I mean, the numbers on quarterbacks drafted in the 1st round in the history of the NFL is a 50% success rate. So I think that kind of gives you an idea of what you're dealing with in the NFL draft as you go farther, deeper into the draft. And you look at what the grades have been kind of all over football after the draft, and I've seen a lot of A's, A- for the Denver Broncos. I can't not agree. One thing that does scare me, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, because the Giants drafted Saquon Barkley, but the one thing that scares me is, what if Case Keenum was a one-year wonder guy?
You're right. That's probably the worst case scenario. But I think Case Keenum, you kind of saw he did a little bit, I want to say, before last year too. He kind of came on maybe at the end of this 2016 season a little bit, and then you saw him roll it into the Minnesota season. I think didn't Sam Bradford start the year, I believe, for
Yes,
Minnesota? So you saw the kind of combination where he didn't get on the field until Sam Bradford got hurt. So you'll see Josh Rosen probably real soon because that dude never stays on the field, Stan Bradford, and gets paid the most money. God bless his agent.
Unbelievable.
But like you're talking about, man, Denver is going to be so scary. I'm interested to see this one pickup for linebacker. I watch a lot of his games in the Big Ten. He tackles everything in front of him, even his mother if she's in front of him, and that's Josie Jewell. He's going to be a stud. You watch.
Well, I think it adds to the defense and how good they're going to be, and I think that's what John Elway looks at and says, this assures up the fact that if Case Keenum isn't the quarterback that we just signed for 2 years, that we have a good enough defense that even if he's just an okay quarterback, we can still make it to the playoffs. And we saw it with Peyton Manning a few years ago with the Denver Broncos. That defense was so good, all Peyton Manning needed to do was be a game manager, not turn the football over, and allow his defense to be as good as they were, put up enough points to win football games, and they went on and won the Super Bowl.
I think you're going to see a lot of teams do what the Minnesota Vikings built last year. You got a strong defense, which Denver does. Check that box. You got a quarterback who's reliable. Obviously, Case Keenum did it for Minnesota. He'll do it for Denver. Check that box. Now, all you really got to do is find a running game. Even though Minnesota lost Dalvin Cook, they kind of had McKinney in there a little bit, and they kind of piecemealed it this year. But with a solid defense and with a quarterback who's not going to lose your games, not going to force the ball or create turnovers, you got a chance. And we see Denver doing that. You see the Giants. They had, I believe, Pat Shurmur. I mean, both guys were on today, but Pat Shurmur was on the 12 o'clock drive on ESPN. And he said, you can see the exact same build. The model has been recreated in New York. They got 2 veteran O-linemen, and Nate Solder, and the dude, I'm going to butcher his names, I'm not going to say it. Ogunleye, let's say. That's not his name. I'm just going to go with it because it sounds right. They drafted
that Will Hernandez kid's the truth.
I was so amped up when they drafted him.
Truth.
We got a young guy we could plug right in probably right away.
Plug and play, absolutely.
Will Hernandez. You got a few pieces from last year that kind of are all right. We got the weapons on the outside, better than you would think Minnesota.
I mean, think about
Odell, Saquon, and Shepard are better than Thielen and Diggs, although those guys are pretty good.
They're good. Stephon Diggs was
Diggs, Thielen, and Rudolph were a pretty solid
very
core.
Solid. But the tight end for the Giants right now.
Right. What about Evan Ingram?
Very good.
Yeah, he's kind of more like a slot receiver, though. He really is not your typical, because he couldn't block me or you.
It's true.
And then the Giants also got some middle linebackers. They got Alec Ogletree from LA, which I think is going to be a huge pickup.
I thought it was a grade A draft for Gettleman and his staff. I love everything.
Oh man, but everybody wants that quarterback. So
everyone's killing him for the quarterback.
Because
do you agree?
Listen, you know me. I wanted number 26 as just for purposes. I already bought the family. Everyone's already got Saquon jerseys.
I knew it.
Custom jerseys were sold out day one. Already top selling jersey in the NFL, bro. That's beside the point. But listen, he's going to be compared to and judged with Darnold, Allen, and Rosen because those are the 3 available. I won't throw Baker Mayfield in there because theoretically the Giants didn't
have the option.
Right. And if any of those guys, I know Rothenberg said it, and your boy Don LaGreca said it, that if any of these quarterbacks become, top of their class or Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, then the Giants huge swing. I mean, Saquon could become the next Barry Sanders, the next Gale Sayers, the next Tim Brown. I mean, but is it really going to matter if any of these quarterbacks pan out? And I think, which stings most Giant fans, is the quarterback we wanted is across the locker room. And
that's what's unbelievable is that the Jets just sat there and arguably what people felt like was the best choice, the safest choice at the quarterback position, Sam Darnold, fell right into their lap. And for the first time in a long time, the New York Jets franchise is looking at a situation where they can be set at quarterback for 10 to 15 years. And I love the fact that Josh McCown's in that locker room. And I don't know if you saw what Josh McCown said the other day, where he spoke about how he's successful as a New York Jet if essentially Sam Darnold is successful in 10 years.
I'll tell you a little nugget about your boy, Josh McCown. But check this. You said 15 years, dude? He's 20. If he stays healthy, he's got at least 20 years in this league, 18 years in this league, dude.
That's true.
You know what I mean? He's a young Thundercat.
He's a young guy.
And
that's the argument about the running back.
Josh McCown has a 19-year-old daughter who's in love with Sam Darnold.
That's
How
unbelievable.
crazy is that for Josh McCown? He's got a daughter the same age as a dude he's going to be tutoring.
That's actually very unbelievable. But that just shows you.
I might have made it up, but I think it's true. Somebody Google it.
That is pretty impressive for Josh McCown, to say the least, because, I know he's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback, the greatest quarterback to ever play in the game or whatnot, but he's the guy that's been in the league for, I think he's going on to his 19th year, somewhere in that range. And we talk a lot about Tom Brady. We talk a lot about Drew Brees. We talk a lot about Eli Manning, these guys, how long can they last? Aaron Rodgers, will they play into their 40s? Hey, Josh McCown sitting there, I think 39 years old, saying to himself, hey guys, I'm still in the league, and I know he's not going in there to be the starter this year. I think if you're the Jets, it's a really bad situation if Josh McCown is your starter at the start of the year. You don't want Sam Darnold. I think your ideal situation is Teddy Bridgewater, truthfully, in my opinion. Anthony, if you had to put your money on one of the 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, and that includes Lamar Jackson, the 32nd pick, the last pick in the first round, who would you put your money on?
And when you say money, you mean like who's going to have the best career? Or who's going to win more?
Yes.
The best career? Or do you say who's going to win more Super Bowls? Who's the best career?
Best career. Because Super Bowls to me is such a subjective conversation, because the team you get drafted to matters so much, but your overall career is, and of course I'm a Dan Marino.
I was just going to say, a la Dan Marino.
Of course I make that argument.
Wow. You know what? I'm going to give it to the Jets, Jets.
Really?
Jets. Because I knew, like I said, I watched the kid blow up Penn State's defense in the Rose Bowl. He obviously had a kind of a down year last year. Still obviously a good year because USC's, and it's always interesting the Jets take another USC quarterback, going back to the well of the Mark Sanchez variety. Will it be a Sanchez 2.0? I think I think he's the answer.
Yeah, he seems different.
Right. I think the kid has the head on the shoulders, although he kind of looks like a toy Lego cop. Google that picture.
I'm looking at him right now.
He looks like the toy cop Lego figure.
He looks like the Lego figure.
Because he's got that box of a head. Correct. He's got that. I think he could be Norwegian.
We're gonna have to put together a side by side of the Lego figurine and Sam Darnold.
We need an intern. Let's get an intern for the Double A Balls podcast.
Get a Double A turn. We'll get a dab turn.
Let me ask you a question. A dab turn. Look at you.
A dab turn.
What do you think about the Baltimore Raven draft? Because I think it's going to be either boom or bust. As Ozzie Newsome took his last draft, I think it's his 20-some year draft, 22, it's his 22nd draft in a row or something crazy like that for Ozzie Newsome.
After 2018, the Baltimore Ravens owe Joe Flacco $0 guaranteed money on the remainder of his contract.
Gone, sir. He's done.
Lamar Jackson gets picked 32nd overall by them.
Moved up.
They traded in.
Yes. In. I used to go in, up,
to the first
down,
round.
in the middle.
They got him. That's all that matters, and I think it's a great pick.
They're going to start slow with him, obviously, because you have Joe Flacco there. He's probably going to be it. I can see Lamar Jackson maybe starting middle of the season. But, like the Jets go back to the USC well, Baltimore goes back to the tight end well with Hayden Hurst. I think that's a solid pickup.
Great pickup.
Great ball-catching tight end. Also a great pass blocker. Then they go for this pick, a legacy pick, Orlando Brown. His father, Zeus Brown, played for the Ravens back in the day. Actually, sadly, passed away from a rare kidney disease that nobody knew about. And he had a terrible combine. I forgot what the reason was. Something was wrong with him. He was messed up mentally. He was having a rough go of it a few days. And then the combine, he just totally tanked. And he dropped hard on the boards. And I think he went in the 3rd or 4th round of this draft. And so I think, like I said, they projected him early for some first-round talent, but something happened in the combine. He didn't grade out well. He didn't have a good test. What's a Wonderlic test? So a lot of teams kind of backed away from him, which I find that almost embarrassing that you back away.
It's mind-blowing to me that even matters.
But I think they're one of these teams that, like you said, with not owning Flacco 0 hairs, you're going to see.
There's a lot of young talent.
You're going to see a new quarterback behind center.
I agree 100%. The one thing I found really interesting about, and there's a lot going on in this draft and a lot you can get into, but the one thing that really intrigued me was the comments Josh Rosen made right after he was drafted. I have his presser the next day after the draft in Arizona But what bothered me, Anthony, and I think you're going to have close to the same opinion as me on this one, is, my man, you just got drafted 10th overall in the NFL draft. I don't care if there were 9 total quarterbacks taken in front of you. You were just drafted 10th overall in the NFL draft. You get to go to a franchise that has been a pretty consistent contender over the last 10 years, and oh, by the way, has one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game of football. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame, and you're sitting there all pissed off and upset because 9 people got drafted in front of you, and then, as he says the next day, and I'll bring up the audio here in a second, 3 quarterbacks got taken in front of him.
I mean, listen, that's just the athlete today. Has a chip on their shoulder, wants to prove to everybody that if you don't take me with the number 1 pick, you're obviously making a mistake. I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Listen, you gotta like the fight in them. It's something that a lot of quarterbacks need. I think every leader of men need to be that type A personality. Need to be able to lead a group. Like I said, he's been walking into a group of some of these guys will be 37, 38 years old. Could listen to a young kid quarterback. Because Sam Bradford's getting hurt. Like I said earlier, I think he's going to be the first one on the field just by matter of fact. Because Sam Bradford's going to sneeze and blow out a knee.
I think you're putting bananas on Sam Bradford getting hurt.
Oh, easily. I'll put bananas on him by week 5, son.
Here's what Josh Rosen said the next day after the draft at his press conference.
Not as angry that there were 9 guys ahead of me, just 3 quarterbacks. That's kind of what gets to me. There are 3 big mistakes ahead of me, but honestly, it's a blessing in disguise. This is an unbelievable team that I think is really, really primed and set to do some incredible things in the future. And I think I just very simply lucked out.
And that's Josh Rosen speaking to the media the next day. So you hear him say, I made a little bit of a mistake. There weren't 9 pick mistakes. There were 3. It was just the 3 quarterbacks. At the end of the day, yeah, I agree with you. I do love the coming into the NFL, fired up. You feel like you're better than a lot of people and you should have been drafted higher. But at the end of the day, and he did say it, he realized he lucked out. You're in a fantastic situation, my man. And part of it is, yeah, you want to get drafted as high as possible because A, the money value, and B, because you just want to. But at the end of the day, the situation has to be the best. And to answer the question I asked you before, I think it's going to be Josh Rosen that pans out the best. At first I didn't, and I don't like the comments. But for some reason I feel like him being in Arizona, it's just going to work out. And the big thing to me is, 1, Larry Fitzgerald, but 2, when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback in Kurt Warner as one of the best players to ever play in that franchise and bring them to a Super Bowl, and you have a 2nd-round draft pick in, I think his name is Christian Kirk. He's from Texas A&M. He's a wide receiver from Texas A&M, who is a guy that you know very well, who's a highly talented prospect, and you're coming together to a great situation. Again, Larry Fitzgerald with Hall of Famers in the building all the time. I look at that and say, Josh Rosen is going to be set up for success in his career.
I think there's some bananas to split.
There might have to be, but we have to first find out about the bananas with LeBron James and the field. The Miami Dolphins, I'd be upset if I didn't bring it up, but Anthony, they picked Minkah Ftizpatrick, and I had so much fun watching this guy's highlight reel on YouTube. He is so good, and the most impressive part about it is, 1, the Dolphins got lucky he was there at 11 because there was a lot of guys that said they thought Minkah Ftizpatrick was one of, if not the best player in the draft. Someone that, like a Saquon Barkley, you feel like is a can't-miss prospect. You have a good feeling about drafting him. And for the Dolphins to get him at 11, they needed cornerback help, they needed safety help, they needed slot corner help, and he fills all 3 voids. I heard somebody say he could play 6 positions on the field on the defensive side. He was the all-time leader in return TD interceptions in Alabama. He had 4 in his 3-year career. And just to understand how smart of a football guy he is, as an 18-year-old freshman, Anthony, he stepped into Nick Saban's defense, which is said to be as close to an NFL defense as possible, and apparently played the most important cornerback position in that defense his freshman year, and Nick Saban essentially gave him the keys to run with the defense for 3 years before going to the NFL draft. That's how good and how smart his football IQ is. I think the Dolphins got a can't-miss prospect. And then somebody close to you, a tight end out of Penn State, big pickup, 10th pick in the second round for the Miami Dolphins.
I'm going to tell you, you're going to like the Alabama kid just because you see Landon Collins on the Giants, daily in and out. That's the kind of safety defensive back you get out of a Nick Saban run team. And you will like Mike Gesicki. Kid's an athlete. Kid can catch the ball. He goes up and catches the ball, which is always nice for a tight end. I think you might have reached for him a little bit. I think he could have been coming a little later, but like you said, I know you got to give your boy Tannehill some weapons. Are you a little worried that they didn't go quarterback? I know a lot of Giant fans were worried Giants didn't go quarterback. You do like Tannehill.
I like Tannehill.
I like his wife. She's very, very smart.
It's very, very nice of you. I'm sure he would love to know that. But I love him because before he got injured, the year that they went to the playoffs and lost to Pittsburgh, Ryan Tannehill was having a fantastic year. It was his 5th year in the league. He'd finally come into his own. Adam Gase was in his first year as the head coach. They were clicking on all cylinders. Things were looking good. And then the ACL injury happened. And then they didn't get the surgery, and they opted for him to do rehab. And then he came back, and he tore it fully. Then he had to get the surgery. And that's the problem, is people forget that because his first 3.5 years in the league, 4 almost years in the league, weren't anything special. That 5th year, his first year with Adam Gase, was fantastic. That's why I love what the Dolphins did. They stayed status quo. Hey, you know what? If a quarterback falls to us like a Baker Mayfield or like a possible Josh Rosen, who almost was sitting there at 11, he was drafted 10th overall by the Cardinals, possibly falls to us, we'll pick him. But at the end of the day, we're going to take the best available player, and it happened to be exactly what the Miami Dolphins needed, because I think Ryan Tannehill is a very viable option, be it that he's healthy, for the Dolphins to be a playoff contender.
Listen, you got some weapons. Kenyon Drake, right, running back. You lost Landry, but I'm sure you can fill that with some veteran wide receivers. And like I said, it's got to stay. It's all come down to health with Tannehill. If he stays healthy, you saw what they could do. They could be a wild card. You know, the Patriots aren't perfect. See a lot of interesting moves up there in New England.
Yes,
the Jets are nothing. They're
getting better though.
They're getting better, but again, I have no idea what kind of weaponry that Sam Darnold's going to throw to out there. Tell you the truth. I mean, I like Curse. Don't get me wrong, but I don't. I mean, Robbie Anderson's a bum, and they have no tight end. Running game, Bilal Powell's nice, but he's nothing to sneeze at. So, I think the Dolphins. It's wild, wild west out there, Andrew.
Yeah.
You get yourself a healthy quarterback. You find yourself some outside weapons, and let's go.
You're starting to get into a spot where the AFC East could be winnable again. 2 other cool stories in the NFL I want to get to real quick. Shaquem Griffin drafted in the 5th round by the Seahawks. We had talked about him. The cool part about that, obviously, Shaquem Griffin lost his arm when he was 4 years old. Was a fantastic linebacker, the AAC Player of the Year for University of Central Florida. He joins his twin brother, Shaquille Griffin, who was drafted last year by the Seahawks. So that's a really cool story. And the other cool story in the NFL draft was the Eagles' last pick in the 7th round. Jordan Mulatto is a 20-year-old Samoan rugby player from Australia. This dude is 6'7", 346 pounds. His arms are 36 inches long. He's got 11-inch hands. And I watched tape of him playing rugby, Anthony, and there's 0% chance I want to be in front of him ever when he has the football in his hand.
What's his position going to be?
I think it could be tight end.
Tight end?
I mean, watching him run, he ran a 4.960 at 6'7", 346. Like, he is bulldozing people when you watch his tape playing rugby. It is unbelievable. So, 2 cool stories out of the NFL there. So, a fun draft this year, 2018 draft, and a lot to get into. The offseason with the programs, with the most likely Odell Beckham Jr. controversy that will always stay looming around the New York Giants. You know what isn't a controversy, though, Anthony? It is springtime. And it is getting warm. Well, actually, it might be a controversy because Mother Nature can't make up its mind. But either way, when it is springtime, it means you have to fix any broken windows or any busted screens. And if you're tired of that outdated shower curtain, go ahead and give Angelo a call at Hawthorne Glass, 973-427-4344. He's got 3 decades of quality service in the glass industry, shower doors, tabletops, storefronts, windows, thermopanes, and more. He does it all, folks. Call Angelo. Use the promo code AABalls for 10% off your first purchase. That's Hawthorne Glass. That's Angelo, and it's 973-427-4344. We had a little bit of what do you got action coming our way. We had the NFL draft last week. We have Anthony taking a 15-13 lead over Andrew at 13-15 because of his 2-point winner with the NFL draft. Anthony got 4 picks right of the top 5 in the first round, so I give him a lot of credit for that. Maybe they weren't in the exact order besides that Saquon Barkley pick, but he got them right, so I give him credit. I only got 3 right, so Anthony takes the 2 points.
Give me the points, Andrew. Give me the points.
So he is back on his high horse. So we are going to let him get started here on this episode 16 version of What Do You Got?
What do you got?
Let's go right to it, Andrew. I want to go right to the Let's go to the ice, brother.
Wow.
Give it to me. I want a beer bong out of a catfish tomorrow. I'm watching the Predators versus the Jets. Give me Game 3, Nashville. I'm riding Nashville's coattails. That's my new hockey team, Andrew.
Wow.
Just for you, this is my new hockey team. I'm watching. I don't know who I should pick for my player though. I got so many guys I want to talk about, Andrew.
Well,
we could do Pecorine.
I think that. Well, I'm not going to give it to you actually. I mean, Pecorine got pulled in Game 1. He gave up 3 goals in his first 16 shots.
He's Pecorine. He's got a name like Pecorine.
It?
Oh, you got to trust a dude named Pecorine.
The Lightning defeat the Bruins 4-2, so that series is tied 1-1 going into Game 3 in Boston. Big Game 2 win for the Lightning.
All right, so since you don't want me to take Pecorine because you want me to pick somebody else because you got pulled, I'm going to go with a little bit of offensive action here. My man's going to score about 98 points tomorrow. It's physically impossible. Give me Philip Forsberg.
Oh, wow.
Give me the left winger.
All right.
Andrew, you can't even come close to coming to my standard of what do you got. But you can tell me, you can tell the audience what do you got. Because I'm going to sit back and relax because I locked up 2 more points.
What do you got?
I'm back on the baseball diamond. And before I
Homer pick, coaching baseball.
Before I tell you what my What Do You Got pick is, we're going to let you know that the reason there's no baseball on this What Do You Got episode is because, newsflash, we will be doing our Friday morning dab, all MLB baseball edition, so tune in on Friday morning. So my What Do You Got, Anthony Rinaldi, is your New York Yankees. They are
Bronx
playing
Bombers.
the Houston Astros in a big-time series right now. They've won 9 in a row going into playing the Astros. They have a game on Wednesday night. It's the ESPN Wednesday night game of the week. It's at 8 p.m., and it features Luis Severino versus Dallas Keuchel. So I am taking Luis Severino as my player pick for this version of What Do You Got. That's going to be a good game, a good series, and I think it's going to give you an idea. One, I'm sure the Yankees are still a little salty. Lose Game 7 last year in the playoffs against the Astros. You want to come in, you want to send a message early in the season. But at the end of the day, it's a big game. The Red Sox aren't playing very well right now. They have lost 5 of, I believe, their last 8. The Yankees have won 9 in a row. They're playing very well. It's a chance for you to continue to rise up in the standings. Toronto's the Rays went on a streak, but they're not going to be anything that's better than the Yankees anyways. So it's your time, and you can't afford to do anything less than split this series, if not take it with the Houston Astros.
Your boy Michael K was amped up today, saying how mad he was that the back page story was Yankees looking for redemption against Houston. No, we can't get back Game 7. We lost Game 7. There's no way we can get redemption by beating them in a meaningless series in April, May. Not meaningless, but obviously you want to do a litmus test.
It's not the
on your
same
team.
as Game 7 of the ALCS.
You're never going to. You can't ask Houston back for their rings. There's no until we get back to a Game 7 where we beat Houston.
It don't matter.
Even that don't matter because they still won the ship.
Still won that championship.
So
you can't take it away.
So that for a newspaper, that's why no one reads the damn newspaper. Putting headlines like it's a redemption series. No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's
really just a test to see
series.
Exactly. Listen,
see how good are you compared to one of the best teams in the MLB.
Right. We had 9 straight. It's obviously not going to be easy in Houston because I think last year in the 4 games, I think we scored a whopping 3 runs in those 4 games in Houston. So clearly, right now they have 0. So clearly we can't score in Houston. And 0 runs will not win you many games in baseball,
Right.
Andrew.
And their pitching staff is so good. And that's why I pick Luis Severino as my guy because he's the guy that you always expect you're going to get 1 win out of every series that he throws in. And you need that one against a tough arm in Dallas Keuchel. So Anthony, Nashville versus the Jets Tuesday night, and he got Philip Forsberg. Andrew, Wednesday night, Yankees versus Astros. He's got Luis Severino. Friday morning dab, all MLB edition. So if you want more of this conversation, you better tune in on Apple Podcast, iTunes, and Podbean.
A little nugget for you for Friday. You hear your boy Corey Seager. Tommy John surgery. Corey
I
Seager
know.
out for the year.
Unbelievable.
Dodgers.
Tommy John is everywhere.
Free falling.
Free falling. We will get more into that on the Friday morning dab. Like I said before, tune in on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and Podbean. Of course, get us on Instagram. Get us on Twitter.
Social media blitz.
At AA Balls on both DAABpodcast.com and PowerOnPerformance.com for the gear.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends.
I'm Andrew Romanella. That is my partner, Anthony Rinaldi. We are the AA Balls Podcast, and we are out.
They gon' love me for my ambition.
This has been the AA Balls Podcast, powered by Power On Performance, your leader in baseball and softball training apparel. Visit www.poweronperformance.com to get your apparel and start training like the pros today.
They gon' love me for my ambition.
It speaks for itself.
Beautiful music, painting pictures, it be my vision.
Define ambition for me. My ambition to win